Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Loving BDSM. Back this week
Yeah.
with another 5 things you ought to know. Insert BDSM topic here. And this week, we're talking about BDSM dungeons and play parties.
I like dungeons.
Okay, before we get into the 5 things you ought to know, let's loosely define BDSM dungeons and play parties. Because they're different from place to place. Even in the same region or area, they can be slightly different.
True.
So BDSM dungeons can host play parties, and many of them do.
Right.
And play parties can be hosted in private homes. Okay? So you may go to a play party in somebody's house and never go to a BDSM dungeon. You may go to a BDSM dungeon in somebody's house, right? Okay. So there are BDSM dungeons that are membership only. So you have to walk in, give your legal name, share your information, do a background check before they let you in. There are some that are more like sex clubs, and you just go in and you pay your money and you're there, no big deal. And in private homes, private play parties, you typically have to be vetted by at least one person, usually the owner of the home, if not somebody in their inner circle that they trust to vet other people. So whether you're going to a private membership only BDSM dungeon, a public BDSM club, or a private play party, these things all generally apply.
True.
Okay.
That's true.
Here we go.
Okay. Number 1, follow the rules.
Every place has rules. And if a play party at a private home doesn't have rules, be worried, because there should be some parameters. At the very least, there should be rules like consent matters, or the house safe word is, or if you have problems, come to this person. Membership only BDSM dungeons, which is what we're most familiar with, typically have like a whole list of rules. They go over them with you when you first get there.
Right.
They post them in many, many places, and then they are happy to remind you of them anytime it's necessary. But any place you go to play that's not your own house, your own private area, will have rules, and if it doesn't, find out why. There are no rules. There should be some rules. There should always be some rules, and whatever the rules are, follow them, or you will get kicked out and you will not be allowed to come back and play. And how sad is that?
Number 2, never interrupt a scene.
Oh gosh, you're going to see scenes that you do not understand. You're going to see scenes that turn you on. You're going to see people playing in ways at these dungeons and play parties that you're like, what is going on? That's fine. That's normal. That's okay. Never interrupt a scene. Interrupting a scene can be as obvious as actually trying to talk to one of the members of that scene while they're doing it. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Or it can be just standing a little too close. First of all, if they're wielding something like a whip or a flogger, you can get hit with it.
Right.
And second, you're about to break those people's concentration, and depending on what kind of scene they're having, that could be very dangerous, especially for the bottom or the submissive who's going through whatever kinky thing they're going through.
Now, if some scene looks to you to be a little over the edge, a little over the top, that it seems a little extreme, don't interrupt it even then. Approach one of the dungeon monitors.
Which leads us into number 3.
Number 3, if you're concerned or confused, find a dungeon monitor.
Okay, so in a BDSM dungeon where it's like a membership thing and you had to share your private details to even get in the door, they should always have a dungeon monitor. If you're at a private play party, it can be a little bit less formal. So at the very least, know who the host of the party is and go to them.
Right.
But when you get there, ask, like, who do I go to if there's a problem? Do I come to you, or do you have people who are acting as dungeon monitors? And whoever those people are, that's who you go to when you see something you don't understand in a scene. Now, in our experience with BDSM dungeons, they often say, hey, if you're going to do kind of extreme play and you're going to like go way to the edge, maybe there's going to be blood, maybe there's going to be knives, maybe there's going to be something, they usually ask you to tell the dungeon monitor or whoever's like manning the front. That way they know what's up if other people at the party start freaking out.
Right.
That's not always the case. So if you are a dungeon monitor, thank you for doing the hard work of making sure we're all safe when we play. But even a dungeon monitor is not going to interrupt that scene unless they're positive there's something going down that's not supposed to happen. And even then, they're probably going to be really leery about that too.
And dungeon monitors can generally be identified. Either they're wearing a shirt that denotes the club you're at. Some of them wear name tags.
They might wear an armband.
They one place we go to, they wear armbands that have a light on them.
Right.
So they're usually easily discernible.
And when you don't know, you ask whoever is in charge of the place you're at. If you're not sure how to find a dungeon monitor, go ask the person manning the front desk. Go ask the host of the party. Find out before you get deep into the party. Like when you first walk in the front door, have a list of questions like if they don't answer them, who's the dungeon monitor? How do I get help if I need it? What are the rules? That's okay. People are understanding of your need for safety and security. They should be thinking of those things themselves, but in case they don't, if you ask the question, you get the information you need, and you might prompt them to automatically start telling other people the same things. Right. It's all meant to keep us safe.
Brings us to number 4. Playing isn't required.
A lot of people get really freaked out about play parties and dungeons because, yes, it is a public space to get your kink on. There's going to be St. Andrew's crosses. There's going to be spanking benches. There's going to be medical tables. There's going to be a space in the floor where people are just rolling around, either because they're doing some puppy play or because they're doing some, caregiver little stuff. Like, there's going to be places where people are publicly showing off their kink.
Right.
And usually new people will walk in and get very intimidated because they think they are supposed to play. No, there is no requirement that you play. And if you go to a place where they tell you that the requirement is to play, be very, very concerned about that space. Because the only people who should be playing are people who consent to play. And no one should ever feel guilted into getting their kink on in front of an audience.
Now, most dungeons, they have social areas. Many people do go there just to socialize. To be around other kinksters. Some people like to watch different scenes. I do both. We've played at dungeons, and I enjoy to watch scenes. Some of the scenes are incredible to watch. The energy and dynamics that go on are just amazing. So, yeah, you don't have to play when you go to a dungeon.
No.
Okay, brings us to number 5. Yes, people are watching you, but focus on your partner.
I'm going to thank Ignixia for this one. I saw a tweet that she put out prior to us recording this. She was giving some dungeon tips on Twitter. Yes. And this was one that I went, oh gosh, it never even occurred to me that this happened. Other things she said, I was like, oh yeah, that totally happens. Like, don't interrupt a freaking scene.
Yes.
It is not uncommon to feel sort of self-conscious when you were the one in that public space. Maybe you happen to have picked the piece of equipment that's closest to the social area, or you're the only one playing publicly right now and lots of other people are off to the side still socializing. When you are playing, whether you're the top or the bottom, dom, sub, the focus should be on each other, okay? Right. If you are nervous, you're going to, especially if it's your first time, you go through this sometimes, you're going to be self-conscious. It's natural. Some people are just going to go through that. But the focus is always on your partner. And if you don't think you can focus on your partner, then that is not the time to play publicly. Because all it takes is a little bit of attention diverted to, oh, there are people watching me, and you might make a misstep in whatever you're doing. Right. And then you might cause serious harm to the other person. Yes, people are watching you. You know that going in. So if that freaks you out, this might not be the time to play. And if you are playing to the audience more than you're playing to your partner or playing with your partner, that is also potentially problematic. Like swinging wild with a whip or a flogger or whatever you're holding because it looks cool to the audience might not be the best thing for the partner who's about to get hit with that thing. Turning around and talking to everybody else around you instead of putting your focus on your partner who's in that position of maybe you're playing with fire, maybe you're playing with hot wax, maybe you're playing with needles, who knows what you're playing with. A little bit of attention diverted can be dangerous when we do risky things like BDSM play is. True. So, yeah, you're being watched, but the audience should not be your focus. the thing you're doing and the partner you're playing with need to be your focus.
Yep.
Okay, so there's so much more we could say about dungeons and play parties, and we have. We have podcast episodes. We might have a video. I know we have a podcast episode. So we'll link down below to all the resources we've got. So if you are going for the first time to a dungeon, or if you're contemplating going to a dungeon and you're not sure, a lot of people get very nervous the first time they go. That's understandable. Good dungeons, the membership kind, the public kind, where there are people manning it and they work there and they staff it. Those people and those places understand that you're nervous, and they will usually do everything in their power to minimize that for you, to make you feel comfortable. If you go to a dungeon and you don't feel comfortable, that might not be the dungeon for you. Play parties, you usually have to personally know at least somebody there. Hopefully that's more comfortable for you. In no way, shape, or form should you ever stay at a dungeon or play party where you feel uncomfortable. If you can leave, either because you have your own vehicle or your partner has a vehicle or you can Uber it, leave, okay? Don't stay where you're not comfortable, especially if you're concerned about the rules and consent and all of the other things that go along with BDSM. And before anybody asks, yes, if you need to find a dungeon, FetLife is your best option. It is the first place to start. It might not be the only place to start, but it is the first place to start. So if you're already looking for munches, which we've talked about before, while you're there, look for your local club. And then the other reason to get to know people in your community is because they might be hosting private play parties. And as you get to know people and they get comfortable with you and you get comfortable with them, then you get to go to these parties and have what we call kinky fuckery.
Opens a whole other world.
Right, exactly, in a whole new way. So that's it. Links below. Comment below if there are other things that you think people need to know about going to a dungeon. Some top tips you would give to a newbie who is uncertain and unsure and wants to be safe but doesn't know. Please, please, please comment below. That's it for us. If you like this video, give us the like, the little thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you really, really like us, join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Kayla Lord. Join us there, and we hope to see you at a dungeon at some point. Bye.